What is up, YouTube? My name is Eben, and welcome to your 2019 New Standard season. And we are opening it with a special deck with an amazing card in it. This is Banette GX. This card has a lot of possibility, especially with Acerola. What it does, for the uninformed, really quickly, it's 190 HP stage 1. Its Shady Move lets you move 1 damage counter around anywhere on the board, provided it's in your active position once per turn, which is... A lot of people are kind of underrating that, but it's actually kind of like a free plus power every turn. Oh, and a little bit of healing too to boot, which is kind of nice because it might let you sidestep some 2-hit KOs every here and there. And Shadow Chant is 30 damage and an extra 10, up to 100, for every supporter in your discard pile. So this guy likes to stack up your discard pile with supporters quickly to hit big damage. And Tomb Hunt is basically just the same GX move as Decidueye GX. We're running 2 of this guy, and we're running 2 Shuppet, the 60 HP Shuppet rather than the 50 HP, just to try to get a little more longevity out of that Shuppet. But if you run the other one for the confusion, it's fine. So we're running this. This is kind of our core, because this thing allows to be picked up with Acerola and Super Scoop Up, which we are also running. And since Acerola and moving around damage, which we can use to manipulate Acerola thanks to Banette, we are also going to be using Lycanroc GX. We got 2 copies of this guy. We have a really diverse multicolored energy line, which we're going to get to in just a little bit. And because of that, we are actually able to use our Dangerous Rogue, and that's pretty amazing because that's almost always a KO, as you know. But we also run some DCEs, so we can Claw Slash. That 110 easily doubles up to take out Acerola GX, which is very solid. But mainly what we're trying to do here is we're trying to Bloodthirsty Eyes to pick up some easy KOs on our opponents. This is really good in the mid to late game to put on a lot of pressure when people aren't necessarily expecting it. These 2 cards enjoy the same support suite quite a bit, so that's why they're in here. We're also running this Rockruff that has more HP. It's the 70 HP Rockruff once again. You can run the others if you want for somewhat more viable attacks, but I feel like for the most part you just want the greater HP because it's 70 HP after all. That does allow us to take 2 hits from Buzzwole GX on the bench. We're running 2 Tapu Leles as well. This is our supporter search, obviously. It can tank a hit every now and then, and we love to pick it up with Super Scoop Up and Acerola, obviously, to really abuse that searching ability. Now, that said, we do have a lot of 1-ups here. It's kind of a Banette toolbox. One of them is Buzzwole, just Baby Buzz. It's Sledgehammer, obviously, when our opponents go down to 4 prizes, which they may easily against us without realizing we've got the Baby Buzz. That's 1 fighting energy to deal 120 damage, and once again this just blows the Rorks away in a single hit, no choice band necessary, so pretty gosh darn useful there. A really nice one of, if you don't end up needing him, you just discard him, you never bench him, it's fine. We got 1 Oranguru, not the Instructor Oranguru, but the Resource Management. We kind of have to run this guy because there's no special energy retrieval really other than this guy. His Resource Management allows us to take Rainbow Energies, Unit Energies, and stuff them back into our deck. We can also use it to bring back like specific supporters if we have to discard ones that we want for late game like Guzma too much. We can stuff them back in with this guy as well. We've also got Tapu Koko, just the baby one, mainly for his free retreat, but his flying flip spreading damage does really help facilitate Banette and Lycanroc potentially picking up some KOs themselves. That little bit of chip damage not to be underestimated. We've got Kartana GX. This is almost exclusively for his slice off, just so that you can pick off those DCEs. Then you can Acerola him, you can Super Scoop Up him, and re-abuse his ability. Or heck, you can even just attach something that provides metal, a DCE, Gale Blade people, put him back into his deck with his own attack, and he can come back and do it again when you search him. And finally is Marshadow. I had been testing a Fairy-type Lele to try to pick off Rayquazas, but in my area at least, Rayquaza is not really a thing, and I think it's kind of fading from this early meta, at least for now. So I decided to run Marshadow instead because our matchup against Metagross and similar things and like Scizor can be a little rocky, and this thing especially helps hose Metagross in the early game when they set up that algorithm. You want to be able to search for this guy, play him, let loose, and reset that hand to keep them from getting that easy setup in the early game. But he can also be nice just to get the draw power if all else fails, if you have to dig for that 1 choice band, etc. Now, normally I would launch into our trainers at this point, but the energy lineup is pretty critical, especially for understanding the Pokemon and what trainers we're running. So we're going to go ahead and tackle that energy lineup now. We've got 4 Rainbow Energy, because obviously these fuel everybody in the deck. The 10 damage is actually very nice, because you can put it on the Banette, and you've already got that 10 damage that you can go ahead and move with that Shady Move, rather than potentially have a turn where there's no damage on your side that you can move over to your opponents to inflict some pain. And this is all Banette needs. This is also the 1 energy of any type for Lycanroc, etc. We are opting for 2 unit energy of Lightning Psychic Metal. This supports, once again, our Banette and a number of our other mons as well. I mean, you could power up Coco with it, I guess, but it's not really so critical, but it is for Cortana as well. Just options. This is a toolbox, so we want just options, options, options. We are running also one unit energy that's fighting Dark Fairy. This deck allows for a lot of customization. With this, you can even theoretically run an Yveltal GX. I'm not running it, but obviously with Banette's ability to manipulate damage, that GX move on the Yveltal could be pretty useful under the right circumstances. But this also, of course, is for the Lycanroc more than anything, really. And finally, we are running two double colorless. A lot of our Banette is our primary attacker, so we don't necessarily need our double colorless that much, so we're only running the two. But obviously, it can be useful for Cortana, Coco, Lycanroc, Lele, etc. So it's definitely not without its moments. And that is the lineup of mons and the energy, and that's kind of our general theme of what we're trying to accomplish here. So supporter-wise, we're running a little bit more, a little heavier on supporters because we need to get a lot into the discard pile for Banette. So we're running 3 Cynthia, we're running 3 Guzma, and we're running 3 Acerola. Those Acerolas are amazingly powerful. You'd be amazed in testing over the last week and into the weekend when I was playing at my locals. It's amazing how many games were basically turned on Acerola. I take some major hit on Banette or Lycanroc, and I just pick it up, replay it, and just go plowing right on. Or somebody would call up Lele, hit it, try to stall for time, and I could just pick it right up with that Acerola and search another supporter. It's really, really useful. Can't stress that enough. I'm running 2 Tate and Liza. This seemed to work for me. You can probably opt for a little bit more, but I just like the 2. The switch in a pinch, but mostly it's just a slightly weaker Cynthia for the most part. I opted for 1 Lele. She's a nice early turn 1 search, and if your hand is actually low enough under the right circumstances, obviously she can be good to search anytime. I'm testing with Apricorn Maker as well, because once again, we're running a lot of supporters, partially just to load them into the discard pile. This can be great for setting up on that second turn or so to make absolutely sure that you get that Banette up to start hitting your opponents as quickly as possible. We're also running 1 Sophocles. This part of the lineup could be tailored a lot to your personal tastes, but I do like the Sophocles personally. It's very searchable, and if you've got a couple of extra supporters in your hand you don't need, you can definitely Sophocles discard them to help set up your Banette faster and just get a straight-up draw, not having to shuffle anything back away. We've also got Judge. This is a very powerful searchable target as well. Under a lot of circumstances, the draw 4 is a little painful, but it's obviously here more to punish your opponent than it is to necessarily just be a straight-up draw card for you. And Copycat works in a similar vein. It's meant to punish your opponent, but it punishes them for having too many cards in their hand by allowing you to draw quite heavily when they do. So that's your supporter lineup. Pretty heavy, but definitely for good reason. We've got 4 Ultra Balls in terms of non-supporters, for all the obvious reasons, the discards, the searching, the evolutions, so on and so forth. I'm running 3 Nest Ball, because you really want to get those Shuppets down very quickly, and it is also good for getting your Rock Ruffs, and if you need, say, specifically like Tapu Koko for that free retreat pivot, etc., it's got you covered. It's an amazing Pokemon searching card in the format. We're running 4 Super Scoop Ups. A lot of people I've seen running variants of Banette are not really utilizing this card, and that kind of is strange to me, because Acerola, sometimes you need a little bit more setup, and this just picks things up, period. No ifs, no ands, no buts. All you need is that coin flip, and it can cycle out of your hand very quickly and easily, so there's not much, even if you miss, you can just search up that Lele or whatever the case may be and just plow along. But half of them should be hitting, obviously, just playing your statistics, and that's a very powerful ability to basically Acerola with no damage condition, and then it's not even using up your supporter play. So very useful for the deck we got running here. I'm opting for 3 choice bands because we'll be picking things up periodically, so we won't lose them quite as often, so I think 3 is quite good enough for us. We've got 2 Alter the Moon as our stadium, because we're not huge fans of Shrine of Punishment here, because we're a little GX heavy. So this is a great way to get rid of their shrines, but it also offers you free retreat on pretty much anything with an energy that's not named double colorless in the deck. So everybody runs away for free if you've got Alter down, basically, which is extremely useful for us to help pivot out, and that can get you a Banette in, retreat it to your second Banette, fire off a second shady move. We've got 1 Rescue Stretcher, just the 1, because you probably won't need more than the 1, because if something gets KO'd once, you'll be sending it back down. But once again, we're about retrieving things before they get KO'd. So just the 1. And finally, we are running 2 Field Blowers. A lot of people are running lighter on Field Blower, but I've already seen so much of Shrine of Punishment, and it's also very helpful to help pick off choice bands and things from people, because a lot of people are discarding the extras early on. So this is definitely a 2 of in my book for now. I found it pretty useful. It's helped turn the tide of a couple of games by getting rid of those shrines early. Anyway, that is the item lineup as well as the supporters. And go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. Definitely want to know your thoughts. This is a pretty powerful deck. I've had a lot of success. It's very customizable for your local meta. You can switch those one-ofs around for the things you expect to see the most of. And I will see you next time.